my energy is sinking a little bit, and my masks are dropping, because I can't maintain them.
I feel that I'm different. And
Yeah.
it's so tiring. It's so tiring. And I wonder if other elder people who getting older, if they feel the same.
Hi everyone, in this video from Aspergers from the Inside, we're looking at autism in older adults. So this is a patron's choice video, and since I am not quite 40 myself, I thought the best way would be to hear from autistic adults who are significantly older than myself as for first-hand experience. So we're having a bit of a Zoom chat today to discuss all of the things that are relevant for autism for 60 plus. I'm interested to hear from others who have understood a little bit about your own autism journey. How does autism impact that experience of trying to sort of keep up with a ever-changing world?
I've just discovered that I might be autistic this week. Pardon me, this week, and I'm 73 too, and I've been riding on my energy, because I've always kept in shape and fed myself well and all that good stuff, and my mask, but I can't do that anymore. And I'm recently with a group of women. I wasn't any longer with my husband, and I was in a new community, a new place that I loved. I'd never actually taken part in a community. I've always been a loner. So here I am with a bunch of women in a choir, in a writer's group, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, I have to really belong here. I have to become part of this. And guess what? Roadblocks. But now I'm feeling like, with a few health issues coming up and stuff like that, my energy is sinking a little bit. And my masks are dropping, because I can't maintain them.
I feel the same. I'm so tired of always trying to find ways to fit in and to cope, etc. I just want to be as I am. But there's always, when I'm alone, I'm perfectly okay. But as soon as others come in, I feel that I'm different. And it's so tiring. It's so tiring.
I'm 78, and a few months ago, a friend of mine says, you may be autistic. And I says, I didn't think so, but I know I've been weird all my life. And then on Twitter, somebody had posted, they just found out that from an online questionnaire, and I scored very high. But also it brought back memories of my childhood, and I still don't know how much that affected me. And since I've learned all this, and I've been following your videos and some other podcasts and that, I find that it's kind of just been a big relief knowing that others experience the same things that I do. Like one of the other, or a couple of the other ones mentioned, I've always been a loner, and I still am a loner, and I'm probably getting to try to get out a little bit more. But for some reason, I just realized in the last, since I've gone through this in the last 2 months, that basically I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm just not going to worry about it. I don't know that I ever really did care, but subconsciously, I think I always felt a burden. And so if I go to something and I don't know anybody and I'm not accepted, so what?
I could say one thing that's was on the top of my mind. I'm 60. And have just moved from a fairly quiet town and a fairly quiet career in northern British Columbia, where I didn't have a lot of social exposure aside from work. I worked for the government, And I think the biggest thing right now that's quite surprising me is that I do not have the patience with people that I might have had before. I'm down now in this very busy place, and it's quite startling at how irritated I'll get, and to the point of I've been a bit fearful of how I might react in very busy areas. That's how I would say my aging and my exposure to social stuff has really highlighted itself.
Yeah, the energy that it takes to mask is something that we often don't realize until you don't have the energy anymore.
You know, I've been lucky to have been in the workforce my whole adult life, but it's been really difficult. And, you know, like you said, it takes a lot of energy to just maintain enough of social interaction to be able to really stay employed. You know, it's really challenging. And I think now that I look towards retirement, I'm ready to give that up, really, right? I just don't have I don't get any benefit from it, right? I still like contact with people and things, but I think it's going to be different than what it is now.
I'm nearly 76. Somebody suggested to me about 12 years ago that I was an Aspie. About a year ago, my partner of 12 years was getting a bit fed up with my Aspie overwhelm when I got home from work, and she found your channel, Paul, and I've learned so much from your channel because it's allowed me to take responsibility for how I impact others by being an Aspie. I'm learning to catch myself when I go down a rabbit hole in conversation. Surely you must want to know everything about this that I know, which is lots. But it's also, learning about the mask and how to take off. So pretty early on in any business interaction that I think is going to be relevant, you know, come out as an Aspie and say, look, if I do things that are a bit weird, it may be because I'm an Aspie. And so, yeah. And that's allowed me to be more myself, which, that, as everyone said, that it takes so much energy to mask.
When we start learning about autism, there's a big gap between the cultural understanding and the real life. And then sometimes the other people make assumptions about what it should be.
I met someone who's hired by the local museum to do some work there, and because of his eye for detail, it's just stunning work. So I was just so glad for him. And not only that, but they brought in a young woman who also had Asperger's, and they got off like a house on fire. I don't know if they might be married, you know. This is great. You know, that's what I know about it. And before then, I didn't really think about it, to be honest with you. There's some changes that have happened in the recent past that kind of make things look a lot better.
What I learned was that there's so many different aspects of it. And my problem is interpersonal communications, which is common, but others is so severe that they're nonverbal, and other ones have a lot of sensory problems, which I only have a few minor ones. And so that's what I've learned. It's such a diverse set of circumstances, and people can be so different.
What I learned in school in the 60s, when I was becoming a kindergarten teacher, we had to learn psychology, etc. And we were taught that people with autism are mentally handicapped. They can't learn in school, etc. And then I discovered 3 years ago that I have Asperger's, and I saw your videos and I read books about Asperger's with women. So that's new for me. I mean, I was just a weird, shy girl or so, you know, but I was good at learning in school. So what's the problem? The problem was not the learning.
One thing that I ran into when I was discovering that I was autistic is that people said that people with autism lacked empathy. And that certainly isn't true in my case. And from what I've seen, I don't think it's true either. I don't know if it's a trait on the spectrum or what, but it seemed to be a common feeling from people anyway.
Sometimes people describe something akin to grief when realizing this thing for the first time, and it as it kind of puts a new way of looking at the whole of your life. What was it like for you to come to terms with this new realization so late in your life?
I think, it was, as I've talked about already, but my second favorite Aspie is Elon Musk, because I saw him in an interview, and the interviewer asked him, "Is it true that you have Asperger's?" As a sort of as a criticism. He said, "Yeah, of course. I couldn't possibly do what I've done if I had a normal brain, could I?" And that was, I found that quite inspirational, because I can own who I am and celebrate it in a way.
Yeah, for me, it's there's grief, because it's new, but also because I was with two very successful husbands, and the second one would consult with me about the life insurance business he was in with lawyers for 35 years, and he wanted my input, and I could give him good input, and yet the jobs that I got into, there was one that was sort of successful. That was because my manager was a mining engineer, and so she sort of understood me. And but the other stuff was just I couldn't talk to women, and they were bust as far as I was concerned, because like you, Jose, I was top of the class, So like when I got out of university, it was like, okay, so what the hell happened? Why did the bottom fall out of all of a sudden, And I didn't even realize until like the last month, looking back, oh yeah, I haven't just started being a loner. I've been a loner all my life. It was normal for me. So yeah. So I'm grieving. Yeah.
I really relate to what you're saying there. It's hard not having any friends. My one friend that I did have died from bowel cancer last year, and it's interesting that you don't get on with women, because I really struggle in male situations. I'm different. I'm an organic farmer. I just do things differently, and funnily enough, I find the opposite sex much easier to talk to than men.
So are there things you notice that are getting easier or harder as time goes on?
I think everything is getting harder. I lost friends because misunderstandings. I mean, many times when I had a very, very good intention to help someone or whatever, and then they receive it in a totally different way. And I'm at the point that I think it's better not to meet people. And it's a sad thing. It's better not to meet people anymore, because I'm a trouble always. And then sometimes someone gets angry at me because I said something or I did something with the best intentions. And then I think, well, what have I done wrong? So when I discovered that I have Asperger's, I'm happy to understand myself a bit more, but I'm also far more aware of the things that I'm not so good at.
Mm-hmm.
I realize that I'm doing things well, I say wrong, but maybe I should say differently. And I wonder if other elder people who getting older, if they feel the same.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you're saying, Jose, and early on in one of my groups, the leader, who has been sort of around the world helping people into elderhood and meaning at the end of life and all that good stuff. She handed me this little piece of paper, and it had a little graph on it, and it said, this is how much you say that people hear, and this is how much they understand, and this is how much they don't get at all. And the circles just, as I recall, got bigger. I forget, but you get the concept. And I thought about that often, and I thought, well, she still doesn't know that where I am with this, and but she kind of nailed it, you know, because our patterns are just different, you know, inside our heads, and what I'm getting from what I'm listening to Paul on is that there are ways to bring the two worlds together where you can learn to be emotionally in touch with people, learn the rules. But you know, I didn't know the rules. I'd fall into pitfalls all the time, and it was like, you know, total surprise. And then it would be pointed out to me in terms of, you know, the NTs, you know, how their world looks to them, and this is what you should be doing. And I still wouldn't get it. So, you know, like we're just, yeah. So I'm really happy. What I'm seeing is bridging the gap between the two worlds. It seems I could see the difference, Paul, in your presentation, or your earlier presentations and your later ones. And I can see that it's, you know, happening. You know, you're fantastic.
So there are going to be some people watching this who are watching on behalf of someone else, thinking, how can I support my person? What do you think? How can the rest of the community support older autistic people?
I think people can, if they know someone who's autistic on a personal level, I think maybe they can look for what they're good at, because what we're bad at it's so obvious. And I think how people know us is by what we don't do well. And if you want to know someone who's autistic, you know, find out the things they're good at, I guess.
You know, I think this is specific to people with autism, but when you do have a problem and want to discuss it, for the person to listen and not try to solve your problem. And that's what I get whenever something I just wanted to talk out, you know, they always try to fix it instead of letting me describe my problem.
So we should wrap up fairly soon. We've talked about quite a few things today. Is there anything that's at the front of your mind that you think this is what the world needs to know about autism in older people?
I would assume we're all late diagnosis too, right? We may have been through most of our life, if not almost the entire life, without diagnosis. I think just understanding that someone would be not receiving support for something that really that we see as now people who are identified as autistic receive a lot more support than we kind of went through it on our own, and we may have built up like masking and things like that have become what people know we are, right? Because we never understood those things during our younger adult life.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if they've discovered years ago that I have Asperger's, and that they didn't want me to fight my depressions, but that they gave me tools to cope with life. What difference would that have made? For 30 years, I had therapy, this and that and such, and there's so many people of my age who have the same experience. And not any therapist ever thought of testing me on autism or Asperger. And I'm very sure that I've given signs. So I think the professional helpers should be more aware of, I think, Asperger's, because they say to me, you look well, you look normal, but they don't know how it feels inside. And that's, a bit more understanding.
One of the things I would say to people, would ask of people, would say to people is they're going to see a change in me. And please be prepared for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if people would say, if I'm behaving in ways which are not neurotypical, I want to know, because then I can do something about it. If I don't know,
Exactly.
I've gone through my life being odd, and people have never said anything about it. They just drop out of my life. Whereas if somebody had actually cared enough to say, do you realize that you're doing some things that are not that usual, then I can do something about it. If I don't know, I can't.
Yes. Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Well, we might wrap it up there then, I think. Is a pretty good spot as far as that goes. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining and sharing your experience, and I'll be in touch.
Thanks for the
opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye. Today's video topic was chosen by our Patreon community. If you'd like to have your say in next month's Patron's Choice video, you can become a Cup of Coffee supporter of this channel for less than $1 a week.